On Christmas Eve, in 1971, a 17-year-old girl fell nearly 10,000 feet from a passenger plane into the Amazon rainforest. She was still strapped into a row of seats. Her name was Juliane Koepcke, and somehow, she survived. Juliane had recently finished school in Lima, Peru. She and her mother, Maria, were traveling to Pucallpa to spend Christmas with Juliane's father. Her parents were respected zoologists who studied wildlife in the Peruvian rainforest. Because of them, Juliane had already spent years learning about the jungle. On the morning of December 24th, Juliane and Maria boarded Lanza Flight 508. The aircraft was a Lockheed Electra carrying 92 passengers and crew. At first, the journey seemed normal. But as the aircraft approached Pucallpa, enormous storm clouds appeared ahead. The plane entered a violent thunderstorm. Rain struck the windows, turbulence threw passengers around the cabin, and flashes of lightning surrounded the aircraft. Then, a powerful bolt of lightning struck the plane's right wing. Juliane saw a bright white light outside the window. Moments later, the aircraft began to break apart in the sky. The row of 3 seats holding Juliane and her mother tore away from the plane. Suddenly, Juliane was outside, falling towards an endless green rainforest. Her mother was no longer beside her. Juliane remained strapped to the window seat as the row spun through the air. The rotating seats and the thick rainforest canopy may have slowed her fall before she struck the ground. About an hour later, Juliane regained consciousness beneath the trees. She was soaked in mud, injured, and completely alone. Her collarbone was broken. Her knee was badly damaged, and she had a deep wound on her arm. She had also lost her glasses, and one of her eyes was swollen almost shut. When she first tried to stand, she lost consciousness again. But Juliane knew that staying near the wreckage would not save her. She heard rescue aircraft flying overhead, but the rainforest canopy was too thick for the crews to see her. Near the crash site, Juliane found a bag of boiled sweets. They would become almost the only food she had during her time in the jungle. After searching for her mother and other survivors, Juliane heard water dripping through the undergrowth. She discovered a tiny stream. Then she remembered advice her father had given her. If you become lost in the rainforest, follow moving water. A stream will lead to a larger stream will lead to a river, and a river may eventually lead to people. Wearing a torn dress and only one shoe, Juliane began following the water. She moved slowly through mud, tangled plants, and clouds of insects. Each step was painful, but she continued downstream. During the day, heat and humidity drained her strength. At night, she rested beside the water while unfamiliar sounds surrounded her. The rainforest was dangerous, but Juliane understood it better than most people her age. She avoided unknown plants and mushrooms because they might be poisonous. She watched where she placed her remaining shoe and protected her bare foot as carefully as she could. As the days passed, the small stream became wider. Juliane grew weaker and eventually ran out of sweets. She survived mainly by drinking water. Her wound became infected, but she refused to stop moving. More than a week after the crash, Juliane reached a larger river. She began spending much of her time in the water, allowing the current to help carry her forward. On the 11th day, she saw something that seemed impossible. A small boat was resting on the riverbank. Nearby stood a simple shelter used by local hunters and woodcutters. Juliane climbed towards it and waited. When the men returned, they were shocked to discover an injured teenage girl alone in the rainforest. Juliane told them her name and explained that she had been aboard the missing Lanza flight. The men treated her wound as best they could and carried her by canoe towards safety. After 11 days alone in the Amazon, Juliane had survived. She later learned that all 91 other people aboard Flight 508 had died. Juliane Koepcke was the sole survivor. Her experience stayed with her for the rest of her life. She later became a biologist and dedicated much of her work to studying and protecting the rainforest that had saved her. Juliane's survival was extraordinary, but it was not simply luck. Her knowledge of the jungle, her decision to follow moving water, and her refusal to give up helped guide her back to civilization.